Wow. Woo! Ladies and gentlemen, hey everybody. I'm just gonna adjust this real quick so you can see the whole base here, because I got a setup going. There we go. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I just want to firstly and foremost, I'm just gonna adjust this here. I'd like to thank you all for coming and attending the first press conference I've ever done here on Colonial Impact Wrestling. It has been what a night, and what a weekend, and I want to be able to answer as many questions as I have. I'm just reading here. I'm still reeling from that main event. Yes, so am I. Man, that was incredible. That was absolutely incredible. I did not see that coming. So I'm gonna just start reading the comments. I'm gonna start feeding and just start answering the questions as best I have. We got about half an hour or so, and I'm gonna do the best I can to tell you what you need to hear. So here comes question number one. What has been the most shocking moment in CIW history when CIW first started? Oh man, that's actually a really good question. It depends, really. I'm honestly, what just happened? What just happened was probably in the top three. Bruce Lee probably winning the world title off of Satan, cashing in his Money in the Bank after that match with Freddy Krueger was pretty incredible. In kind of the opposite way, the Joker's finger poke of doom stunt was pretty damn shocking. I still don't want to talk about it, honestly, because it just puts a sour taste in my mouth. That's not what our program was meant to be about. That's not what that King of the Spring was meant to be about. But I'm happy that the King of the Spring has been so successful as far as making stars in people like the Joker and Kratos, who we just saw lose the world title to Shiva. And so there are a lot of really good moments in history that we've had, and I'm thankful that we've had as many shocking ones as we've been able to come up with. CJ, Lone Wolf, did you make or download Kratos? I made Kratos. Not from scratch. It was, there's actually a program or a website called CAW.WS where it has a lot of the old school, real old school, CAW's for SmackDown versus Raw 2007, 2008, 2009, and a lot of them are there. And that's where I get most of them. And should I credit the people who made them? Yes, and I do, but a lot of them I've had to tweak. I don't use their exact design because there's a lot of things that are like either flawed with them or I just would prefer to change. And so that's the origin story of Kratos. Hawkboy again, what superstars would you have in CIW if you could? Well, it's difficult because there's a lot of guys from like the Magnation era that are not on those programs, and a lot of more modern stars and modern talent that are not on those. So I don't really have a template for those because they stopped making the CAWs in like 2009, I think is when it really slowed down. And so you don't get a lot of stuff like there's no Guardians of the Galaxy, like you have Batista, but there's no Drax, and there's, I'd like to have some of those people on there. I'd like to find a good quality Ganondorf if I could. Legend of Zelda is one of my favorite franchises of all time. I play A Link to the Past probably more frequently than Cody Rhodes, because there's just so much adrenaline in my soul. Somebody stole my Papados. Give the people what they came to see. Whoa. So that I definitely have a Ganondorf of some description. There's a few of them. I'd like to have, but I always love getting suggestions from people about guys I would like to have in CIW. And now that we've established this women's division, which I'm very thankful for, this women's division has really opened a lot of doors that we would not normally have been able to do in CIW, and I'm thankful for that as well. We've really been able to make the best of our situation, especially with Corleone's budget. We've been able to grow so exponentially. And, we wouldn't have been able to do that unless Corleone had stepped into the picture and revived us. And that was 4 years ago now. And I'm still thankful for all of that. Because without Corleone, none of this would be possible. TAW Gaming, this is Josh again. When Elmo and Ermac get married, will it be in-ring Macho Man and Miss Elizabeth style? And who would be the who in that situation? Well, Elmo is naturally Miss Elizabeth because he doesn't say a whole lot, and when he speaks, it's very high pitched. And I imagine that Ermac does kind of walk around with Macho Man's gravelly voice a little bit. You know, oh, no, let me tell you something. I got many souls up here in this body. Yeah. So I could definitely see that. I could totally see that being the case. The real question here, though, is who is Jake the Snake Roberts? You know, who's the guy who's giving the snake to them, and who's going to be the one who runs afoul of Ermac and Elmo on their wedding day? And you know what? Their wedding's next week. You know, we mentioned yesterday night, they postponed their wedding to go do the Combatants versus the Forgotten Fighters match, which, by the way, while I'm talking about that, what were your reactions? While I've got a few of you here, I'm going to ask you a question. The match styles, you know, SmackDown vs. Raw 2007, it's a very interesting game because it's hard to come up with new match concepts because you kind of get your list and that's your list. So I wanted to do something that kind of played around with a regular match but provided something different for the circumstances. And Soul Calibur is another one of my favorite games, Soul Calibur 2 specifically. I'm a PS2 guy, obviously. The Soul Calibur Gauntlet was our attempt to come up with something a little bit different as a style, a little bit different as a means to really get those fighters and really cater to all of their strengths, because I thought they all faced each other very well and really loved that KO. We don't do a lot of knockout victories, but we got one here. We got one in that day too. CJ, made my own Kratos for SVR 2010. Well, I don't know if SVR 2010, I don't know what kind of cause they have. So, because, you know, I kind of stopped with WWE games. I got SVR 2009, and I'm not gonna lie, it's ass. I hate that game. To be able to actually stat up your players is the worst. The worst. Which is one of the things I really, really like about SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 is, like, once you beat the story mode or general manager mode, I forget which one it is, but once you beat that, you basically can just stat up your cause as high up or low as you want to. There's no filtration on that. So you can basically do, and what I do, just again, while we're talking about it here in the press conference and seeing how all press conferences are a little kayfabe breaking. Every single wrestler that I have on the roster is statted the exact same at 92 average. And the reason it's 92 average is that it is basically 1 full meter below maxed out stats, except for, I believe it's stamina and charisma are both at 10 or both at their max. There's 2 of them. Stamina's at max and speed's at max. Those are the 2 that are max, and everything else is 1 before that. So that was a choice by me to kind of keep it as even as possible, and it really seems to be so. But it's interesting what the sometimes who decides to beat who on a more regular basis. TAW Gaming, second question, what is the drink and are you sponsored? I am sponsored, but not by the drink. The drink that I'm having right now, I just picked up. It's Sloop Brewing, Juice Bomb Northeastern IPA. I decided I'd get a little bit of this just to celebrate a weekend full of incredible wrestling action. And by the way, my hat is off in the most literal sense to all of our talent and the staff and the personnel, the camera guys, the table reassemblers, all of the people who invoice us for all the collateral damage that's done to the buildings. I mean, especially when there's so many backstage assaults. I really do appreciate all of that coming up. And I do appreciate everyone's hard work that they made to make this weekend a happening thing. And I am sponsored by AB Production CT. Oh, by the way, good time to mention Abizzle. If you go to Abizzle OG, which is the name of the YouTube channel, I don't have it in the description in the link, but I will after this press conference is over. We are beginning our countdown because we have been trying to start a YouTube channel for 10 years. And we have been slowly building and building and building and building. And now we're ready. And at the first of the year 2024 was when you're really going to see the massive debut. But we're doing a series of video short countdowns right now where we're doing 6 seconds, literally 6 seconds. And it's between Abizzle and myself. And we're counting down from 100 all the way down to 1. And so please like and share and subscribe to that channel. There's going to be music. There's going to be videos. There's going to be all sorts of stuff. It's a different venue. It's a different venture. But this has been a lot of planning to go into this. So AB Production CT, it's our own production label. We've really put a lot of thought into it. I don't mean to plug while I'm already on a plug, but this is that is our sponsorship. Third question. Hold on. With Team Mischief reuniting, will this finally get Wario out of this rut he's been in? Well, he won. And you know, the difficulty is, you know, I've talked to Wario about it before, and Wario's the kind of guy who you don't realize just how fragile that ego is. He is a truly he's a better man than you come to expect. You know, you don't want to cross him, but he loves to compete. You could see the heart of the competitor in that. That's why he was such a dominant, you know, CIW heavyweight champion when he completely took Bruce Lee down and made his case. And even when he beat Waluigi back when he betrayed him in that Shades of Black match in 2014, you know, that was what it was all about then. And he didn't take too kindly to interference, especially from Agent 47 back on day one. And that, you know, and really maybe we should have seen this coming in that respect. You know, once the opportunity was there, of course, Wario was going to jump at that and make himself a part of that. Maybe we should have seen that coming, but I can't tell you, you know, it's a weird feeling because Wario was so hated for so long. It did just heinous things, but to see it kind of go, you know what, let's put it all as water under the bridge. I really do respect that from Wario and Waluigi, and what a hell of an effort and what an even more colossal of a win. CJ, I wasn't watching CIW when Jack 6 was involved. Did he ever wrestle on CIW or was he just the GM? You know what? I said I'd answer all these questions, so I'm in the interest of full honesty. You know what? I haven't talked about Jack 6 on this channel. I don't like talking about Jack 6 on this channel, and I really don't even like talking about it when I do commentary on Josh Geddon's stuff, but I'll answer the question here. What happened was we were sold a bill of goods when we were getting established, especially when we were getting shout-outs from the Magnation, who, you know, you put a lot of effort and investment in, and then, you know, they'll tell you you're SOL if you miss a day or two of what they're doing, you know. And they had asked me to do some commentary for Jack Nation, and that's really what put me and CIW on the map and really got me over as a talent, was those days on commentary then. And I was ass on commentary then, you know, because I was just young and inexperienced, and I didn't have the kind of scope of what's doing. By the way, shout out to Chris Ravioli and Pepsi Cones. I don't know if he's watching or if he's ever going to see this, but props to that dude. He had a great chemistry with me, and no, it's the thing is, it's like Jack 6. He came in and he promised a bill of goods, and he promised to finance CIW, launch a third show that was going to be his side brand, where he was going to have like the more upper talent while we were working on like that B and C show, establishing the gimmick with the lesser characters in a time that we needed to separate ourselves from people like the Magnation. And Jack 6 was going to be the guy to kind of bridge that gap. And he said a lot of things, and there was, you know, I'm going to save the past from the future, and the past, he uses words a lot. And I was a big fan of Supremacy at the time. You know, a lot of people were. It was the heyday of the Magnation, and it was a time when you really, really wanted to see them succeed, even though they had all the internal drama, and WWE hired and fired them faster than the amount of times JR has been hired and fired. And it was just a situation where all of a sudden it just became so much, and it became overburdened, and then he took all of his money back. He was nowhere to be found. People were asking for pay, and then all of a sudden we didn't have pay, and I couldn't pay my wrestlers. And then I had to tell them, yeah, we can't do anything because Jack took all the money to the past, not to fund into the company, but he just took the money, or just went to the future and spent it anyway, and it wasn't appropriated. It was just further invested, and he just collected on the investment. And so it was just, we got conned. There's no other way to put it. We got conned by Jack 6. And that's what Jack 6 was all about. I was just too naive to understand that at the time. And as a result, we had to shut down. And I will never, ever, ever, listen to me, I will never forgive Jack 6 for that. For putting us out of business for so long. For putting us out of business for so damn long. For 4 years. We had to halt completely off the grid. But look where we've come. Look where we've come, though, in spite of that, because 2023 became the greatest year in CIW history. For the amount we've been able to do, this year between the feud of TAW and CIW, which, truth be told, not to break kayfabe again too much here, but a lot of effort went into that from both myself and Josh again, and that I was so incredibly proud, A, that we tied, and that we didn't end up losing at all, but B, just making that event happen was such a huge, huge deal. And then to follow that up with the King of the Spring tournament, which is a lot of matches to put together, but we did it. We made all those matches get put together, and I'm so thankful for that. And it really was something that we needed. We needed that. And and then here at Autumn Asylum, the summer series, I'm thankful for what we've been able to come and what's upcoming, because we have the Halloween special coming up. We have Thanks Grappling. We have Oblivion, the 2-day event in December. We have some Saturday night hype matches before that. And then the 10-year anniversary show. I mentioned it on the on day 2, but more details to come on that very soon. But I'm rambling a little bit too much here on Jack 6, but just so you know, that's the state of that. And I know Jack 6 is on TAW, and I have not yet gotten my revenge about that, but I have thought about it. I won't lie to you. But remember, I've still got the messed up neck. TSN, that once you have a neck injury, you don't not have a neck injury. You know what I mean? So what TSN did, that's with me to stay. So it's really not a matter of me I can't fight Jack 6. You know what I mean? It's just, we'll see what develops from that. But would I love to get revenge on Jack 6 for bankrupting us for 4 years? Yes. But considering how much Corleone has brought us into the future, I can't say I'm that mad. Let's see. I got okay. Next up, and no, Jack 6 never wrestled. He never actually appeared on camera. It's purely financier. Hawkboy, will there be a tag team tournament in the future? It's funny you say that, Hawkboy, because I was just thinking about, I was actually with my myself, Corleone, and A Bizzle, because to share with you some details, it's Jack 6 who is not around. It's Michael Corleone who is around. It's Corleone and myself and A Bizzle, and we're like the booking committee, if you got to call it a booking committee. But we're the ones who are actually putting the matches together and figuring out signings and contracts and all that situation. We're the ones who do that. So we come together and we are actually trying to conceptualize whether it's feasible. And I'm not sure it is, but I want to see if it's actually feasible to potentially do the equivalent of a tag team King of the Spring tournament. I don't know whether that is going to actually happen or not, but it's going to be something I would like to, it's definitely something that's been on my mind as far as making happen in the future. So, potentially, definitely potentially. Josh Ageddon, next question. I heard recently that Joker's contract situation is kind of in dispute. Can you shed some light on that? And do you regret signing him considering what he's doing with DC? Well, let me clarify first that I don't regret signing the Joker. A, because the ratings that we have been getting because the Joker's been here have been quite nice. And all the new subscribers that have come in have been quite nice. And it's also, he's hitting the referees and the fans are saving the referees. So you can't really ask for more than that. But on the real, am I happy with what the Joker's done as far as being a degenerate? No. Am I surprised? No. We've got 8 years of TA. Did you regret signing him and him making your life hell for 8 years, Josh, again? That's, at the end of the day, you can't deny the talent. You can question the morals, but you can't deny the talent. And the Joker is one of the names most synonymous with success in E-Fed wrestling, period. In all of his iterations. So, no, I don't regret signing him. As far as his contract goes, I don't normally share contract details, but I will, for the sake of you, Josh Ageddon, I will let you know that when I signed the Joker out from under you, even though it was kind of a simultaneous deal, it was restructured. I'm to understand as far as you and he, right after CIW versus TAW, because we were then kind of reopening the doors for you and I. But the Joker, as far as CIW goes, there's a lot of those guys who on that company were who we were taking over that we signed to basically 1 year deals. And so the Joker came on Revelation day one, which was December 16th, if I recall correctly, of last year. So December 16th right now is the date that his contract is set to expire. We have been in talks. We have been discussing. It's kind of hard to get him on the phone, and then he gets you on the phone when you don't want to hear him on the phone, as evidenced in the barbecue when he, assaulted my friend and broke my boss's leg. So I can't say I'm too thankful that he's done either of those things. But at the end of the day, would I like the Joker to remain in CIW? Yes and no. I mean, I would like the Joker to stop really causing serious damage, but I will also say I am thankful that he kept his presence only on day one tonight. And we, in regards to the main event, I think Hawkboy mentioned it a couple of times that he could have cashed in at any time during that main event. And Lord only knows what that would have done. But I'm very thankful to have seen the main event I did. I'm still in shock. I know Kratos is a really good fighter. That's why we signed him. But I did not realize just how incredibly good he was going to be. I mean, he took out... none of those matches did he look like he was breaking a sweat. Not even against Kratos, really, which was absolutely insane. I couldn't believe that. I could not believe that. And I'm still surprised. I mean, Kratos, we've seen how dominant Kratos has been, and Kratos looked like he was one of the Rangers, and it takes a very special kind of talent to make Kratos, the God of War, look like the Skylar and or Bridge, who both lost to Pepsi Man in the pre-show. But it was still the Joker, as far as DC goes, they've got a lot of power right now. You can't deny with the way that Batman and the Penguin, they're doing their little non-free bird, they're done caring rule, because they don't care who's doing the tag team defenses, as evidenced by Penguins coming in. By the way, just as an update on Reptile, I have gotten word from the Reptilian Hospital, the Argonian Hospital down in Blackmarsh, that Reptile, thankfully, while he suffered a serious fall, and he's lucky he did not break any major vertebra, and he didn't. And I will give credit to the Penguin here, because this is not always the case, but I will say that as far as wrestler safety goes, I want my talent to inflict as much damage as possible. I want them to do damage and really hurt each other to some degree, because it's good television, it's good ratings, and it's good matchups. But at the same time, I don't want our talent literally killing other talent either. So the fact that the Penguin made sure not to kill Reptile, but maim Reptile, because he got Rectile, is a reassuring sign. But as far as I know, Reptile is expected to make a full recovery quite soon. Let's see, what else is here? We got these. Tony Hawk's at 72, but all my guys in 2K14 are at 100. That's a nice thing to know. You did not upset me, CJ. You did not. It's just I had to talk about Jack 6 eventually. I had to talk about him. So we had to rip that Band-Aid off, so I'm not upset. Where is Incredizone? I've heard that their CIW contracts were terminated. Is this true? If so, why? Actually, yes, and this is a great story. I will tell you both kayfabe and the real answer here. So, we're starting the King of the Spring tournament, and because Mr. Incredible is part of TAW long before he was part of CIW, he was a man who decided that he was going to basically say, no, I'm not going to lose to the Joker. I'm not going to lose to him at all. And he came into my office and said, I am not doing the job to the Joker in the opening of King of the Spring. And that was a fact. It was Joker had the plan was Joker was moving on in that second round to the second round. And then, eventually, not to break up the plans too much, but Joker and Penguin, that was supposed to be a hell of a match, and that the Joker was going to like roll up, basically. He was going to catch the Penguin, and that was the intended finish, but of course the Joker and the Penguin had other plans. But overwhelmingly, he basically just said, no, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing the job. And I said, yeah, you are doing the job, but you don't have a job. And so the Mr. Incredible basically said, go shit in a hat. And I said, I've already got a hat, and I am full of shit as it is, but not as full of shit as you are, because I'm telling you to do a job and you're not doing it. So it's time to go. And he got upset. He went back. His contract was terminated, that I had, which was basically a 1-year deal that I had for him signing with Frozone. So it's not like he lost too much time, but he didn't want to, and that was a termination of rules. You don't do that, and he had to go. And as far as Frozone goes, basically he decided, Frozone, because he was on the day after, said, you know what? He came up to me and said, you know what? I'll do the job to Pepsi Man, but then I'm out. I'm going to go with my partner. I'm not going to sit here and just leave him hanging. If he's going to get fired, I'm going with him. And I said, I respect, and truthfully, I respected that decision. I like Frozone. I do. He's a good guy. I've known him since CIW started. He's a CIW original. But, friend loyalty. I understand friend loyalty and brand loyalty. And I had no ill will towards Frozone at all for that. And so he said, hey, listen, if he's going to go, then I'm going to go. And I said, okay, good luck. And that was the end of that. And so it's a shame, because they were CIW tag champions, and I really liked the team, not when they were, representing TAW and they were assaulting my broadcast partner, A Bizzle, repeatedly. But again, so the talent is above the character of the person in a lot of that situation. So that's just why, so that's what happened there. And so are they going to come back? Maybe. But as of right now, no, they're done. CJ, Jack 6 is just a talent on my show. Now Jack 6 is my problem, UCT's problem. Alternate version of him, he's a mass-produced, but Josh is my problem. ATSN lost a blah, 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 blah. Here we go, Hawk Boys, TAW Gaming, here we go. Speaking of DC, will there be any punishment for the repeated interference? I got to talk to Mike about that, because I won't lie to you, it really is starting to piss me off that all of these people who are just cornermen can just do whatever they want and just run roughshod, and nobody's coming up and saying, hey, get the fuck out of here. I probably shouldn't swear in a press conference, but I really don't. I'm not worried about it at this point. But seriously, I would like to see a little more hammering down on the officiating. But I have to talk to Corleone, because really, as the financier, he's the one who has the final say. And thankfully, Mike is a terrific boss. I have zero complaints working for Mike. And neither does AB. I mean, not only just in addition to all of the incredible stuff he's given us, but just the ability to run all these shows at all these venues, being able to making CIW, basically almost. What's amazing is that we have almost tripled our audience from when we relaunched, which is absolutely incredible for 3 years' time. And really, that spike has just happened in the last 18 months or so. And I very much thank Michael Corleone for that. But as far as, the referees go, I want them to enforce more. I would love for them to enforce more. But, at the same time, my hands are tied. And so that is going to be a discussion going forward, definitely, as we head into October and November and December. Do I expect things are going to change immediately? No, because a lot of those really like structural core shifting kind of deals, they don't really happen that fast. So there's a lot of red tape. There's a lot of planning, strategy involved. So we're going to work at it. And hopefully that will mean that we were successful, and that we are going to be able to hold more of these people accountable for their actions. Let's see. Hawkboy, with Ken Masters kicking Sagat, what will Sagat do? Cry about it. More than likely, he is going to cry about it. That has been his MO for quite some time, has been bitch, moan, and complain. And truthfully, him bitch, moan, and complain is what got Ken Masters on the pre-show of this event. Even though Ken Masters didn't technically break his claws, Sagat just made a big stink about it, and Corleone's leg was broken. He didn't want to deal with it. He was already, neck first, selling all sorts of legitimate items. And that's just how that all developed. So I really do think that what's Ken Masters is gonna do, and I think this is the major thing about this, is I know Sagat's gonna want to fight Ken now, and that's all Ken wants. Ken just wants to get back in, and in the same vein, December 18th is the day that year-long stipulation and contract expires. So basically, once December 18th comes along, so come Oblivion, Ken Masters can appear on main shows again. And that's going to be on December 30th and the 31st, the day before New Year's Eve and New Year's Eve. And that's when Ken's going to be cleared. So I'd imagine that there's going to be some concerted effort to make a match happen between those two. I don't know what the stipulation is going to be. I don't know whether we're going to, what the status of what our referees are going to want to do in regards to that. And by the way, I want to say I'm big ups. You see, I've got the orange here on the CIW logo, and I do want to say big ups to Jimmy Corderas. I did not know that. I genuinely did not know that when he came down the ring. I had no idea Jimmy Corderas was gonna be there, and that was a heartwarming deal because I love Jimmy. He's such a good dude. He's a funny guy. He is a really, really funny guy. Tells a lot of good jokes. And that's one of the things I was really sad when he got purged, because he was kind of that weird, like, cult figure in CIW. He's like the Orange Cassidy, but with talent. And so he did a really good job of coming back, and he did a really good officiating job as well. Really proud of how he did, and he did not get killed, which is a plus. And I know that, as far as I know, and I hope, he is going to, maybe we will actually get him signed as a referee. I don't think he's going to be wrestling. As far as I know, he's not going to be wrestling. I think that is mostly a refereeing and officiating deal. But more of that to come, as we know. I mean, who knows? Because he had a Buried Alive match with Chrono in 2014. So if Chrono knows that Corderas is back, maybe they'll get mad at each other. I don't know. But it's in either way, it was great to see Jimmy back. TAW Gaming. How did you acquire Yuna, and are there more CIW women's signings on the way? I will start with the second question first. Yes. Yes, we have more women coming. They are going to be... It's kind of a gradual process, because it turns out that a lot of the big-name women, man, it is difficult getting them into the building to be able to just negotiate terms, because they're, thankfully, in a very good way, in a meaningful way in pro wrestling, they know their worth. They know how much they are worth when it comes to what they are going to compete for, and the fact that they're going to be pushed at a pretty sizable level. I mean, there's a reason that we put the women's championship match on day 3 to open up, because we believe in these women, and I'm proud of all the women. This women's division has really, just in the matter of months that we put it together, beginning with the original match with Padme and Lara to there, it's really been incredible. As far as acquiring Yuna is concerned, Yuna I love Final Fantasy X. It is maybe my favorite game of all time. Maybe Chrono Trigger beats it out, but I would say that it's a very tight race. And in top 3 games, in no particular order: Chrono Trigger, Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past, and Final Fantasy X. Those were the most transformative games of my lifetime, without a doubt. So Yuna was actually quite easy to get in contact with, because I love Blitzball. I love Blitzball. In fact, as a matter of fact, and this is a true story, this is a shoot, I invented a football-type game that I play to stay in shape. It's an exercise game that's running back and forth with a football. I'm tossing the football up in the air and catching it myself. And it's a 32-team league based on all of the towns from Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy XII. It's called Volta. And there's a team, and I've got rules, and it's a whole set list. And so I'm well connected with all of the entities in that whole universe. So as soon as I said, I knew Yuna, I said, hey, Yuna, you want to come wrestle in CIW? It was hell yeah. I mean, she's been wanting to do something for a while, kind of to bring that life of the Sphere Hunter back into her again. She hasn't really been doing a lot of that lately. So Corleone, he set up a contract with her. there were some tough negotiations. She summoned a few Aeons. Corleone was not intimidated, to his credit. He was not threatened or afraid by that at all, and God bless him. And we made a good deal. She came in, and Lara was so great. And wow, how dominant was Yuna. She just completely destroyed Lara Croft. I thought that was going to be a little more competitive than that, but that Bahamut, that is a devastating finisher. It's so lightning fast. So I'm excited for Yuna being here. I'm excited for the women we already have and how much they've established themselves. Even the Natalie World Order, you know, say what you want about Natalie, but she did come out with the belt. You know, she is our first women's champion, has remained the women's champion. And I don't know what's going to happen as far as the next the number one contender for the women's championship. We're probably going to see that number one contenders match either at Halloween or Thanks Grappling. I haven't decided yet, but you'll hear in the coming weeks. Because just a spoiler, basically from now until Halloween, we're going to take a little break. We're going to have some time off, so you're not going to see many matches from us. You might hear, might get a storyline update. You might get some community posts. But we're going to take it a little bit easy, kind of reel from what we've developed here over the summer and here into the early fall. So that's the answer there. Let's see. CJ, there's a lot of girls who are in the Mag Nation. You tried adding a couple like Silk Spectre or Daenerys to the CIW roster. I have not actually gone out and talked to either of those two yet. But there are. I mean, I know that we have been negotiating. We've been negotiating with Hermione Granger. I don't know if that's ever going to manifest itself. She is a very strong independent woman who, even just working with Emma Watson, it's a very difficult get. Hopefully we'll be able to grab that. They will not be called harlots. I promise you that. I will treat these women with respect. So we are going, hopefully, Daenerys, that would be like one of the biggest gets that CIW could grab. But there's a lot of names. There's a lot of names, now that we've really started the women's division, we are going to continue to keep those names going and try to make more of this women's division, the more interest that we get. So the good thing that's happened now is that we're getting people coming to us and saying, hey, I want to be a part of this. And so it makes it a lot easier for us to be able to negotiate terms, look up, how to make them, and be able to do that. Or have enough artistic design where I am actually able to make a few. You'd actually be surprised how many of the amount, just breaking the fourth wall a little bit, you'd be amazed how many of the people in this game I've made myself. More than you'd think. And some of it you can tell, some of it you can't. But that's the truth. That's when you talk about the hours that have gone into this show. That's why I'm so incredibly proud of everyone for delivering the way that they do. We talked about Jimmy Corderas. We talked about there. Will there ever be a Queen of the Spring? We don't have enough talent yet, to be honest with you. And, and truth be told, and this is, I'm saying this with no knock on any woman at all. But truth be told, the women have a hard time drawing at the same capacity as the men do. And that is not exclusive to CIW. That is basically just a fact, really, in all sports, but especially in women's sports, and especially in women's wrestling. And with a handful of exceptions like Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair, once every 5 years or so, there really aren't a whole lot of people who get more eyes on the product and people into the building on a more frequent basis. And we've done a lot of analytics studies this year because we've had more eyeballs on the product than we ever have. And as a result, we are focused on looking at the best possible outcomes to not only elevate and make these women feel and draw at a more important level and feel as meaningful as the men, but also I'm more of a fan of equity than equality. I want the women to feel more important than necessarily have the same amount of matches. I want the women to feel and you be invested in the people we have, that they become people that eyeballs gravitate towards. And the thing I worry about with a Queen of the Spring, especially this early, is that would not necessarily be conducive to their success, because I don't want to oversaturate the market with women in one. And again, that's no knock at all, but you can you can do more harm than good overbooking women on your show. As far as the over, I mean, look at what AEW. If you look at AEW's ratings, and I don't use their name very often, but if you look at their ratings, most times when that shark is jumped on that show, it's because the women are on it. And that's a fact. Statistically, that is a fact. And that is something I don't want to do to my women, because I want my women to feel important when they're on, not be the reason everybody decides that they've got more important things to do. So that's my answer to that as far as a Queen of the Spring. Perhaps down the line, but I don't have any major plans for it in the immediate future. Will Harry Potter be in CIW? We are in talks with Harry Potter as well. There's a few actually in that universe that I've been discussing in that respect. Harry Potter's in there, Ron's in there, basically the major three. I don't know if we're going to get Snape or Dumbledore, though. It seems like they are dead. But the other ones, I think we have a shot. So we're going to keep our eyes on that. We're going to keep negotiating, and hopefully we'll see good things in the future. I mean, the thing is, with the 10th anniversary coming up and with so much more on the table now that Corleone is really, balls deep in investing into this product, there's nowhere to go but up, and there's nowhere but possibilities as far as the future of CIW and who can come and go on a weekly basis. All right. Will our dear friend, the Bay Area Brawler of CMP, ever do color commentary for CIW? Only if I ball and gag him and make him do it against his will. Truth be told, probably not. I mean, the only case, if ever I had a match where I had to fight like Steve and Trevor and you and Josh again and AB all in the same match, and Skylar was there, that might be the only situation. I kind of doubt Skylar's going to say yes to that, but that's also not for lack of trying. Corleone's reached out a few times and Skylar said no, but you know what? I respect that. He's very careful about his brand. He's like the Patrice O'Neal of eFeds. Hopefully without the dying and diabetes, but I don't know. I haven't looked at Skylar's medical records, so I can't tell you for sure. I can't tell you for sure. Let's see. I got time for maybe one or two more questions here, and then I think we're going to get going because we're hitting the 45-minute mark here. I got to turn this down so I can see this. With the debut and success of the Soul Calibur Gauntlet, are there any other match styles, concepts you have cooking, any you would like to share or hint at? Nothing that's really outside of the proverbial wrestling box. The fact is that the Soul Calibur Gauntlet was unique because, and actually part of what I'd like to try and do maybe is, I'm going to try and take a Russoism, and maybe I'm going to do something like a Brawl for All, but with like the Soul Calibur fighting rules, and it'll be a tournament with that rules instead. I don't know whether that's going to actually like put the winner over or not, but it's a concept I've thought, and wrestling has tried to kind of do that overlap. The most recent iteration, that incredibly, fantastically fun match in the worst way possible, between Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler at SummerSlam, but there's always that kind of cross-pollination between shoot fights that I would like to experiment with. So there is a possibility that I might try to take a Russo-conceived idea and actually turn it decent. And I'm not saying that is going to happen. I'm not saying that's not going to happen. I'm just saying that it could happen. But that would be my answer as far as the Soul Calibur Gauntlet. I will tease that we are going to have a cage match coming up. I'm not going to say who yet, but there is a steel cage match that is in the works because we have not had a steel cage match in some time. I know that there is plans to, but see, the thing is, we don't really do a ton of stipulation matches. And the reason why is that a lot of the matches that we have, it's the booking that sells it. It's not the gimmick of the match that sells it. And sometimes, and I think far too frequently in wrestling, a lot of people tend to over gimmick their matches. They'll give you they'll give you Hulk Hogan versus The Rock, but instead of just selling the match on the fact that it's Hulk Hogan versus The Rock, it's Hulk Hogan versus The Rock in a no disqualification ladder match where the only way to win is to send your opponent through the turnbuckle and the barricade and the table, the announce table and the second announce table, and then bring them back into the ring. And, and so it kind of ends up being, I think people end up doing too much. And our approach has always been simpler is better. And that is going to probably be, that's why you see a lot of singles matches on CIW and why that works. Because there's already enough at play to where you don't need too much carnage. The carnage will write itself. All you need to do is give the talent the opportunity to do what they do best. Let's see. What do you think about people starting their own promotion after being inspired by you and others? Take the time to recognize that what you do now is not your best work. And recognize that you're going to learn later on that the mistakes you're doing now, whether you realize you're doing them or not, are going to make you a better commentator and booker in the future. I think that what my biggest failing was when I took my inspiration from the Magnation is I kind of wanted to expedite the markishness of what they were doing, because that's what they did. They would go this and they would make kind of fourth wall breaking jokes constantly, which it worked for them because they had the personalities to back it up. And I tried to do that at the beginning, but as I realized more and more, what works for me is a more serious approach. What works for me is taking this whole thing more like I'm presenting it as a show that I am truly involved in, like it is a business, and a promotion, and there's bookers and there's staff and there's paid personnel, without going too Bret Hart about it. But I really do think that change has made a lot for me, but that might not work for everyone either. The difficult thing is when you start these promotions, you have to find your voice. And I think far too often people try to find a voice that is similar to their idols. So as a result, they become imitations of their idols. They become Dolph Zigglers as opposed to being their own, as opposed to being Shawn Michaels, they just are Dolph Ziggler, and you just got to find how to become you. And you can't do that, I don't think, until you do this for at least 3 or 4 years. It takes time, it takes discipline, it takes video after video after video, crafting, analyzing, going back to watch what worked, what didn't, what did people respond to, what isn't going to work, what isn't drawing. What about this? And sometimes there are anomalies in statistics. You kind of have to take that for what it is. But the biggest advice I can give, it warms my heart that people want to do this and want to keep the eFed industry alive. It's better. It's healthier when we have more people in it. But you also have to know that the progress and the road to success is slow. I mean, I didn't find real success until the relaunch. I took 5-6 years, and then 4 years I was off, and I got a chance to look at the content. Really look at the content that I was making and going on, and I realized I don't really like this. I think that I do like it, but there's a lot of things that I wish that I would have done or could have said, or one of the things that I personally thought was a problem was that I got too emotionally invested into the characters themselves, like it was a fight between me and them. And that's not the role you really ought to have as a booker and a promoter. And that's the thing that really changed. I became more of the Tony Schiavone or JR or the or Ian Riccaboni for a more modern example. Somebody who could guide the show and still express discontent at the heels while, glorifying the baby faces but also getting them all over in a way that you feel like they are all important. And what I did at the beginning, is I made the thing with Aquaman personal. I made that, a deal where it was me against him, and there was no reason for that. There was nothing to predicate it. And especially because the hardest thing to do is to not get in your own way and be too much of a mark for yourself that it ends up damaging the promotion as a whole. And that is really what I think hurt and without the magnation and without magnitude going, hey, they're not bad. The commentary is pretty excellent. Stick onto it. Without that endorsement, we may not have made it past that first year. We may not have made it past that first point, even with the content I was coming out. It's a patience game, it's a discipline game, and it's also an introspection game. It takes time. It takes time to learn. It takes time. And props to you, CJ, and also anyone else who is doing this and trying to create what they've got. But there's always never be comfortable in what you're doing. That's my last piece of advice. I'm going to close out the podcast. I'm going to close this out with this. Almost called it a podcast, but I'm going to close out the press conference with this. Never be satisfied with what you're doing. Never be satisfied in what you've accomplished as far as your EFIT goes, and go, yes, because the biggest thing that will kill any company, any progress, any dream is comfort. If you look at your program and you go back and you go, yeah, that was really good work, and there's nothing I could have done to fix it, and there's nothing I could have done to change it, then you're dead in the water because you've already killed your momentum because you've halted it yourself. But if you keep using every little movement as a block, as a stepping stone to get yourself further and further down the road, knowing that 10 years later, I'm about to hit 10 years in CIW, man. About to hit 10 years. And I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't feel like there was this massive chip on my shoulder after Jack 6 bankrupted the company. I wouldn't have, if I didn't feel like that was the time, that was the time for me in 2020. And that was before the pandemic, before everything shut down. I came up with this. That's just to show that wasn't something just to fill in my spare time. I needed to do it. I had to do it because there was a chip on my shoulder going, I can't leave this channel and this program like this. There's more to be done, and there's more to this story, and there's more that can be developed in this story. And never be comfortable that your story is over, or that you've already told it, or that you're doing a good job telling it, because you are potentially doing a good job telling it. But if you believe yourself that that's the case, then when it stops becoming a good job, you won't be able to tell the difference. And so always be hungry and always question your work. Not doubt. I'm not talking doubt, but question your work. Analyze. Because the biggest asset you can give is to stay hungry with your stuff. Be true to yourself and always be asking for more. And always take the next step. Thank you, everybody, for coming to the press conference. I really appreciate y'all coming here. And it's been a hell of a night. Hell of a 3 days that we've had here at Autumn Asylum. I'm appreciative of what's coming up, and we'll see you at Halloween. Take care, everyone.